Thanks for joining me again. I want to focus on commodity fetishism and poverty inside the body of hip hop. And for this beginning of this video, I want to focus on a quote from Karl Marx's Economic and Philosophic Manuscript of 1844, and it reads as follows: "The nations which are still dazzled by the sensuous glitter of precious metals, and are therefore still fetish worshippers of metal money, are not yet fully developed money nations." And if you take money and substitute money for people, you'll see that this quote has a lot of power. A lot of the popping of the champagne, the flashing of money, the big gold chains, and the outrageous sports cars, those are symptomatic of people not used to having money. And it's not a slight on them, it's just one of those things that has happened inside of our culture. As a culture, we've moved from asking the question, what do you do, to what do you have. A lot of times when people ask you, what do you do, it's not about your grand vocation in life. It's not about what purpose you serve in society. But for some people, it determines how they treat you. What do you do, for some people, determines how much you have. And how much you have determines the treatment you get. And that's just one of those harsh realities for some people in this life. So the hip-hop community has not been inoculated from this reality. So when you see the young guys with the chains and the big stacks of money, and you hear about some artist in a strip club throwing hundreds in the air or something, a society produces that kind of person. And when we equate our self-worth to our economic gains and we tie them together in that way, it's a dangerous thing, because there are elements inside of our communities that they have no money. And so not having any money, which money equates to power, for some means that they do not have any power. And where this hip-hop, even though it still could be classified as gangster rap, where it differs from some of the stuff I was reading earlier from 50 Cent, is that from 50's perspective, whether right or wrong, he felt like he was doing the things he was doing from a survivalist fit. This genre of hip-hop is motivated by money. The willingness to do anything to gain money, which gives me power, is a different kind of beast from the willingness to do anything to survive out in the streets. And so when we see the commodity fetishism inside the body of the music, again, that is just one element of the music. That does not give the norm for the music. It is not the standard baseline for the music, but those artists tend to get more of the attention. And so when you see the young guys in their early 20s with the Ferraris or the Maybachs, and you see the big chains and you see the flashing of the money, those are all symptomatic of an upbringing in which they have equated wealth with power, wealth with status. And if you have no power, if you have no wealth, you have no status, then you're no one. And for some people, they're willing to die for that status. And I think that we make, as a society, a gross misstatement when I hear people from different socioeconomic backgrounds or different age groups even, they see the commentary, what's going on in the streets, and they say, well, these kids just don't value life. And I think that's a fallacy. These kids do value life. They just value life at a different rate than most of us, or what we would say is the norm for valuing life. If life is to be understood as the acquisition of money and power, and you have no money and no power, and you see yourself as worthless, then the proposition of dying young or getting rich to get that power, or risking your freedom to get that power and opportunity, for some, that's a very easy choice to make. And it's hard to look down your nose and make that judgment in a warm house in some suburb tucked away somewhere with good neighbors and a good community. For a kid growing up inside of hell, and what can be hell in this country, in poverty, the idea of risking your life to gain that status or to gain that money is a very easy choice for some to make. And it's not an exoneration, it's not an apology for the behavior, but I mean, it's just a reality that some of these kids face. And so understanding that commodity fetishism is a real part of this music is empowering because it lets you know the role of corporations in this music. And that's something I'll get to later on. Again, thanks for joining me. Don't forget, this paper, like the others, can be read at thoughtwrestler.blogspot.com. Thanks for your support.